What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. David Terrell Green here, aka Day Marino. Hey, if you guys are here for the very first time and you like what you see, go on down, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, because we dropping new videos daily. To my returning subscribers, you already know the deal, man. Listen, call your freaking mother. Call her up, man. Just, say what's up. Somebody's birthday, right? For those of you who do not know, I am a filmmaker. I enjoy creating stories. I enjoy creating art. I'm a creative. I like doing that. That's my thing. Some of my favorite creatives: Donald Glover, Vince Gilligan, Peter Gould, Steven Spielberg, Neil Cross, Guy Ritchie, to name a few. One of them is, yes indeed, Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino's kind of like the cheat code, for like aspiring filmmakers. Like if you just get into film school, I like a lot of younger filmmakers want and try to be like Tarantino. Like they try to have that type of witty, out in the box dialogue and the violence and all this other stuff. Like they try to duplicate him a lot. And to be fair, I have done that myself. He's one of the most mainstream filmmakers of this generation. And with that, he's put out a bunch of films, and he said he only wants to do 10. And we're coming up on that 10th one. And I want to talk about my least favorite film of his, and probably in my opinion, his worst film of his whole catalog, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know a lot of people are going to not like that, because I've gotten into heated debates about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and why it is such a amazing, complex movie, and it's a love letter to Hollywood, and all. Stop it. Listen. That's a love letter that will end up getting you cheated on. I want to approach this in a way that doesn't come off as hating or me just being an angry fanboy. I am nowhere near on Tarantino's level yet. I'm only speaking on behalf of the knowledge that has been acquired to me, as the years have gone on in my training. There is an issue that Tarantino and Nolan, particularly those two, are starting to fall into, which is let's just put it out, they're going to digest it anyway. You can look at that with Tenet, you can look at that with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where you have no freaking idea about what's going on. You don't care about the characters, you don't care about what's happening to them in that present moment, and then when there's a level of high intensity, you don't really care what happens to the character, whether they live or die, whether they succeed or fail, because there's no emotional attachment. If a younger director were to do the same thing that Tarantino did with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and what Nolan did with Tenet, folks will be ripping them to shreds. You don't even have to be a younger filmmaker. You could be on a lower level and people would still annihilate you. But because it's Tarantino, because it's Nolan, their names alone sell the film. You have these three people in the movie. You have Rick Dalton, Cliff Booth, and Sharon Tate. Look at Margot Robbie's portrayal of Sharon Tate. This isn't the first time that Quentin Tarantino has used a real-life person or real-life events within the confines of a story. I would have preferred you using a fictional character in this movie instead of having a person that's just walking around. Oh, I'm gonna go to the movie theater. I'm gonna put on glasses so no one will recognize me. I'm gonna see if people are laughing at my scenes. Oh, that's nice. Well, I'm gonna go home now. Yeah, that's nice. You know what I'm saying? What's going on with this character? Why do we care if this character, it's almost like you did this to be hey, everybody, come watch the movie because this person's gonna be in it. And that was the only reason why. I feel like if you're going to add real life people and real life events, you should be able to write it in a way that is fun and unique and gives the story life. I don't want to see a day in the life of somebody. That's lame. That's why people watch movies, right? If you watch freaking Pirates of the Caribbean or Spider-Man, that is something that is out of the ordinary. That doesn't happen every single day. So it's exciting when you're put into this world where you're yo, this is crazy. What is so exciting about going to a movie theater and watching people like react like that. There's nothing exciting about that. Quentin Tarantino went on record to say the reason why he didn't really give Sharon Tate too much to say, too much to do, is because he didn't want to come up as disrespectful to the family of Sharon Tate. He wanted to present her in a positive light. But then on the flip side, you have Bruce Lee's character acting like a freaking douchebag. I mean, last I checked, Bruce Lee, he was a real human being. I'm just kind of curious, so you don't have an issue with making Bruce Lee look like this pompous, but God forbid we make Sharon Tate look like this, you know, any type of person. She doesn't even have to be mean, just any type of way. Like, if you're so concerned about not having Sharon Tate look a certain way, why didn't you just write a completely different character that had absolutely nothing to do with this? Like, your selling point is, oh, the Manson murders and stuff like that. The last 20 minutes of the film, the standoffs between Cliff Booth, Rick Dalton, and, you know, the murderers, I don't know what their names are, the murderers, I didn't care about what was going to happen to them. Because at that point, I was just like, hey, whatever, if he dies, he dies, on my Drago type. Oh, one guy, he can't memorize his lines. Then he memorizes his lines. Then he goes overseas. Then he gets an acting job overseas. This dude can't get work. He works on a roof. He picks up a girl, drives her back home. Someone pops his tires and he punches him in the face and he goes home. Like, okay, look at a movie like Django. It is obvious what the stakes are from the jump of the movie. This man is a slave. They took this man's wife. He agrees to help this assassin in exchange for his freedom and to get his wife back, and now they're going undercover to get her back from this notorious slave owner and to keep a low profile and hope to God that their cover doesn't get blown. Those are stakes, bruh. Because like, you're like, oh man, I hope their cover doesn't get blown. I hope they're able to get out of this. Like, I hope no one dies. Like, there's so many what ifs that follow that story. The same thing with Kill Bill. There's so many what ifs that follow that story. And so I feel like within Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, why didn't you explore that? You explore Rick Dalton getting to a point where he's so low that he's willing to do anything and everything to compromise his own, like, you know, his own morals to get to where he wants. Like, there are so many avenues that you could take with that. There's this thing where people are gonna start walking around saying you're washed. And they do this all the time, whether it's with musicians, whether it's with athletes, whether it's with actors. And then you have this clinging desperation of, I don't wanna be forgotten, I want my legacy to be remembered. And then Rick Dalton is doing any and everything in his power to get to that point where he then begins to put himself and Cliff in compromising positions. Like, that sounds like an interesting story versus, I can't memorize my lines, I keep forgetting. Like, I don't know, I didn't care about the characters. This cast, at least within the two main stars, there should have been so much more interaction within those two characters. Something should have happened where these two had to rely on each other to get through this. The same way that Dr. Schultz and Django had to rely on each other at a certain period of the movie. I'm not saying that like the movie's like absolutely horrible, but like for 2 and almost 3 hours of just nothing, and then like a 20-minute payoff that's just like, oh, here you go, enjoy this. The buildup is not worth the payoff. Like this whole sideline story of Cliff Booth possibly murdering his wife, and then it's never talked about again. That is an interesting enough tidbit of information that you could continue to run with that and bring that up throughout the story. That could have been a breaking point with Rick and Cliff if he brought up his wife. And with his last movie approaching us, I don't want him to go out on this mediocre tip. For us, we should want the characters to either succeed or fail based off of the information that we are given about them. But if you barely show us anything about these characters, then people will cease to care about them. I guess that's just kind of how I feel about the movie in itself. Like, the movie is casted perfectly, and for some reason, like, nothing. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. What do you think? Do you think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a good movie, or do you think that it was one of Tarantino's worst? Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for all sorts of new videos. Follow me on IG, follow me on Twitter, TikTok, all of that is in the links below. My name is David Terrell Green, and you rock it with the best.